Hello and welcome everybody from Malaysia. Now we are 148 kilometers far from Kuala Lumpur in the city of Malacca. Well, why is this city so interesting? It has a very rich history, and if you remember the travel film about Kuala Lumpur, I said that the city of Kuala Lumpur was established approximately in 1857, but Malacca has a more rich history because it was established in 1402, and well, about that I will tell you a very amazing legend. Parameshwara, also known as the Iskandar Shah, needed to flee from Singapore because he was defeated there, and he found shelter here in the jungles near where is now currently Malacca, and he was resting under a tree, and he saw that his dog is chasing a mouse deer. This mouse deer is a very strange little small animal. I will paste here a photo about it from the Wikipedia because I found it very funny. Well, it looks like a deer and a mouse, that's why it is funny, and it looked like that the dog will win, but this small animal could push the dog in the river, and Parameshwara thought that it's an omen, it's a symbol, it has a symbolistic meaning, and this could mean that even the weak can defeat the strong, and because of that he said okay, he will establish here a whole empire. Well, actually he established the city of Malacca, because he was resting under a Malacca tree, and that's why he named the city Malacca, and this story was supposed to happen in 1402, in the beginning of the 15th century. Well, Malacca started to grow very fast because it also had a port, and many trade routes included Malacca. Arabic, Indian and Chinese traders docked their ship here, and some of them also found their home here, so this is actually how a lot of tribes were growing here, because these people married here, and this is why the population of Malacca is so multicultural and so colorful. Malacca is not a small city, it has 579,000 inhabitants, and because of its rich history it's part of the UNESCO World Heritage, and in Malaysia it's called the historic city. In 1403 the first official trading convoy led by Admiral Yin Qing arrived from China to Malacca, and they made a very good pact, very good relationship with Ming China. This was important to protect Malacca from the attacks from Siam and Majapahit. Actually, Majapahit was who conquered Singapore and made Parameshwara to flee and establish Malacca. So after this, Malacca was officially under the protectorate of Ming China. Malacca had a bad fate over the centuries because it was conquered by many great powers of Europe, first by the Portuguese, then by the Dutch, and then it was part of the British Colonial Empire. All of these nations constructed a lot of buildings here, and this also makes Malacca very special and very colorful. A lot of tourists come here, and it's a top tourist destination in Malaysia actually, because of these colonial era buildings. Well, of course these were renovated and they are in very good shape. So yes, we will discover all of these, and we'll take a walk on the city. But first let's still focus on these historic informations. In 1511, first the Portuguese conquered Malacca in just some months, when Alfonso de Albuquerque came here from the Indian Goa with 1,200 Portuguese men and with 18 ships, and then Malacca was on Portuguese hands. Then in 1641 the Dutch came here and defeated the Portuguese with the help of the Sultan of Johor. Malacca was under Dutch control until 1824. They were not really developing the region, except the city hall, which is called Stadhuis. This one we'll also visit, of course. And they were focusing more over on Batavia, which is currently Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia. and also they had also an administration center in Java, so they were focusing on the development more over there. And well, in 1824 it was the Anglo-Dutch treaty, and there they exchanged Malacca to Bencoolen, and this is how Malacca became part of the British colonial empire. During the Second World War, between 1942 and 1945, Malacca went under Japanese ruling, and in 1946 Malacca joined the Malayan Union, which became 2 years later the Malayan Federation, which gained the independence in 1957, and later in 1963 became Malaysia. But well, about this I told you more details in the Kuala Lumpur vlog, and actually Kuala Lumpur is a twin city of Malacca. Malacca is a very popular tourist destination, moreover for the Singaporeans, because Singapore is very close, so they can get here very easily and very quickly. But well, it's also very popular for Chinese and Taiwanese tourists, and in 2017 it was the absolute record. Almost 17 million tourists visited Malacca in 1 year totally. Malacca also has a slogan, Melavat Melaka bererti, Melavat Malaysia, which means that visiting Malacca means visiting Malaysia. On the left side you can see the flag of the state Malacca. Malaysia is organized in more states. On the right side you can see the flag of Malaysia. But it's not really windy now. This is the Malacca tree, after this named Parameshwara, the city to Malacca. In Malay language is Pokok Malacca. I thought that I will also include this tree in the vlog, so you can see it's a real tree. I was very impressed at the bus terminal of Kuala Lumpur, Terminal Bersepadu Selatan. They gave me a QR code bus ticket, which I needed to scan in order to open the gate. And well, after I went to the window where I need to get the bus, and there was another woman who was checking the tickets, scanned my ticket again, and after I went through that gate and I could leave my luggage. Well, the bus driver also checked that only the authorized people, only the authorized travelers will put their luggage inside. So yeah, it was very well organized, and I was impressed. I never experienced such a thing, that bus tickets with QR code and everything so organized. Well, it's really surprising, and I think Malaysia is a very developed country, so I can really recommend to travel here. This is the oldest still standing Dutch colonial building of Asia, the Stadhuis, the city council of the Dutch colonial government here in Malacca. It was constructed between 1641 and 1660 on the ruins of an old Portuguese fort. It was the residence of the Dutch governor and also of the Dutch administration. Very beautiful building. Stadhuis. We can find an ethnography museum inside. I will not visit it now. Just admire the building from outside. This is the Queen Victoria fountain, erected in 1901. In 1897, Queen Victoria surpassed George III as the longest reigning monarch of Great Britain, and because of that they organized a series of festivals and events. She had her Diamond Jubilee, and that was the trigger event of the construction of this fountain. As you can see, there is a memorial, Victoria Regina, between 1837 and 1901. was her reigning in the British Empire, erected by the people of Malacca in memory of a great queen. It's also very interesting that this fountain is more than 100 years old and it's still functioning properly without any problems. These bicycle rickshaw drivers are very annoying. Usually they play very weird, loud music. This one is kinda okay, not so noisy, but usually they just pop in and disturb my vlogging. Another very beautiful Dutch colonial building is the Christ Church, built in 1753. This is how they celebrated 100 years of occupation over Malacca. I'm very curious why they used the red color everywhere, because this building actually is next to the Stadhuis, and that's also red terracotta building. Maybe now they would use orange color. That's more Dutch nowadays. The interior of the cathedral has 200 years old handmade posts, decorative fan lights. It took 12 years to construct the church. Well, it's not so richly decorated like in Europe usually. It's a very simple church. The windows are very beautiful. After the British took over Malacca from the Dutch, they consecrated this church to an Anglican church in 1838. It was consecrated by Bishop Daniel Wilson of Calcutta. Yeah, so this is how easy you can transform a church to another one. Very strange, but that happened with many churches back in time. There is also an old clock tower in front of Stadhuis. After you climbed St. Paul's Hill, you can have a good view of the city. Well, I cannot compare with that tower there, but still nice. Now we'll visit the ruins of St. Paul's Church. It was built on the site of the last Malaccan Sultan's Istana, which is a palace. It was constructed by a Portuguese fidalgo, nobleman Captain Duarte Coelho, in gratitude to the Virgin Mary for saving his life during a storm at the sea. Well, now it is roofless and is covered in ferns. It was originally called the Nossa Senhora da Anunciada, Our Lady of the Annunciation Church. Though it has been in ruins for more than 150 years, it is a beautiful, breezy sanctuary. St. Paul's Church was enlarged to 2 stories in 1556 after the Archbishop of Goa in India handed it over to the Jesuits in 1548. Between 1567 and 1596, the Portuguese added gun turrets to the chapel, and it became a fortress actually. In 1590, a belfry tower was added to the front of the church, and it was renamed the Igreja de Madre de Deus, Church of the Mother of God. When the Dutch invaded Malacca in 1641, it was badly damaged. The belfry tower was destroyed, but the complex was later repaired and renamed St. Paul's Church. It was primarily used as a Protestant church for about 112 years until Christ Church was completed in 1753. After that, St. Paul's Church fell into disuse. Under the British administration, a lighthouse was built, and this church eventually ended up as a storehouse for gunpowder. These are the tombstones of Dutch nobility who were buried here. Only these tombstones remained. Actually, if you can see the date, for example here, 1656. Extremely old. Incredible. And there are so many here. Some Dutch graves are preserved intact, that's why there's a Dutch graveyard next to the temple. Alfonso de Albuquerque, after conquered Malacca in 1511, ordered the construction of the A Famosa fort. 1,500 slaves were involved in the constructions, and you can imagine a very huge fortress, because it contained 5 churches, a lot of hospitals, and also storages for gunpowders. There were also 5 towers in order to protect this fortress. This is one of the most visited sightseeing locations of Malacca, because this fortress is one of the oldest surviving buildings of European architecture in the whole Asia, so it's completely special. You can see that not much remained from this fortress. Actually, this is the Santiago gate, which is behind me. Also, the complete Portuguese administration was settled inside of the walls of this fortress. This is the Malacca river. Well, they were not so creative when they named these geographical locations. But actually I also said this regarding to Batu caves, because Batu means rock, so actually it is just called rock caves. So now we are in the state of Malacca, in the city of Malacca, and on the banks of the river Malacca. This is the entrance of the Yonker Street. It's like the Chinatown of Malacca. You can find here a lot of old beautiful buildings from the 17th century, and thousands of shops which sell clothes, handicrafts, souvenirs, and everything you can imagine. You can also find here local food, local restaurants, some pubs. Now it will not be so busy, because actually on Friday, on Saturday and on Sunday it turns into night market. That night market is really busy and crowded. This is when this street really comes alive. Then it is closed from traffic. Cars are not allowed, and here on the streets you can imagine all kind of food stalls. Actually it's very similar to the Petaling Street in Kuala Lumpur. And this is what I mean, old buildings. This, for example, absolutely amazing. Look at those decorations. The Peranakans are the descendants of the early settlers of Malacca, which were Chinese. They mixed with the local Malay and Sumatran people, and this is how this ethnic group Peranakan was actually born. It is very interesting that the male Peranakan is called Baba and the woman Peranakan is called Nyonya, and this is where actually a very famous cuisine is originating. because Malacca is famous for its nyonya food. You can imagine that the Chinese and the Malay cuisine was combined, and for example, it's a fish head curry, which is a typical Nyonyan food. So, well, if you come to Malacca, you should try some local Nyonya specialties. I think it's a very funny word, and moreover, baba, because, well, in Hungarian language, baba means infant. You can find Peranakan Nyonya food everywhere. This is also one of the restaurants, Peranakan Palace, and there you can see it's some Nyonya cuisine. For example, it's Nyonya Laksa. It's a noodle soup with seafood, as I see. Or some Nyonya cookies, dessert. Now we'll visit the Chang Hong Teng Temple, which is the oldest Chinese temple of Malaysia, built in the 17th century. It is a Chinese Buddhist temple. The main entrance is already richly decorated. Look at those figures over there, absolutely amazing. This is the Masjid Kampung Hulu, the Kampung Hulu Mosque. It is the oldest mosque in Malacca and among the oldest in the country, having originally built around the year 1720, probably finished in 1728. It underwent renovation in 1892. The architectural design of the mosque is a cross between local Malay, Sumatran and Sini. An ancient cemetery lies next to the mosque, is where some notable preachers and missionaries are buried. This is the Villa Sentosa, another colonial building from 1920. This is the year when it was built. This is the Kampung Morten. Kampung means village in Malay, so you can imagine like a living village museum here. More than 100 typical Malay houses can be found here. Morten was a British revenue collector, and this place was named after him because he was living this part of Malacca. It is a little bit far from the city center, but you can always take a Grab. It's very cheap. Or, well, I came on foot. It was also not very hard to get here. You can also find here some British colonial buildings, for example the Villa Sentosa. Well, actually it's a living museum because people are really living here, even if it sounds surprising. And some places can be rented through Airbnb or through other platforms probably, because I saw a lot of places they have left their number to contact them for renting, and also some of them were like guest houses. Kampung Morten. Kampung Portuguese is the Portuguese settlement. As the name suggests, is the part of Malacca with the highest concentration of Portuguese descendants from the colonial period, which started in 1511, as I already mentioned. If we will walk here, we will find the traditional houses which are made of wood, and look out of this pretty square where we are now, called Medan Portuguese, is the Portuguese square. There is also Portuguese restaurant, so if you ever visited Portugal and you are craving for some Portuguese food, then it's also a nice place to come here. It's also interesting that I read that some residents here still speak Cristão, which is a kind of Portuguese language. And here is also a Hotel Lisboa, so it's very Portuguese, this part. There is also a replica of the statue from Rio de Janeiro, Christ the Redeemer. It cannot be more Portuguese than this. That Christ statue in Rio de Janeiro is absolutely famous. Also some artwork referring to the Portuguese ships. Lisbon Hotel. Looks like the hotel is closed, full of bush. Probably because of the COVID pandemic, they didn't get any guests. It was complete lockdown in Malaysia and now it's like a ghost hotel. Home of stray dogs. At least maybe they have some fun relaxing in the bed. Not really suitable for swimming. Also a little bit scary. Well, I don't know if you already heard in the background that this city is full of crows. Crow everywhere. I find it very strange. Because actually I've been to many Southeast Asian cities and never saw so many crows. It's like a Hitchcock movie. Well, I'm joking, exaggerating, but anyway. We are now in the Maritime Museum of Malacca, and this is the shipwreck of the Portuguese ship Flora del Mar. It's a very old shipwreck. Absolutely amazing. Let's go inside. Here are the Portugal pirates. Portuguese flag. This is Alfonso de Albuquerque. So unlucky that we cannot climb to this ship. I think it should be more interesting than the other wooden old ship that's temporarily closed. Maybe because of COVID. Now we'll visit the palace of the Malaccan Sultan. How is this possible? In 1985 there was a project which cost 2.5 million Malaysian ringgit, and from this money the palace was reconstructed using traditional technique and construction materials. There were some books from the 16th century. These books described how the Sultan's palace looked like and also which materials were used, so this is how they could make a very good replica in 1985. Istana ke Sultan Melaka is the name of this museum. According to those books, Sultan Mansur's Shah 7-tiered palace was built entirely without nails and supported with carved wooden pillars and featured a copper and zinc roof. This was the most elaborate royal palace ever constructed in the world back that time in 1459. The books also documented that this palace was destroyed the year after the Sultan ascended the throne, when it was struck by lightning. The Sultan and his subordinates. These dresses are absolutely amazing. The garden is also extremely beautiful, full of flowers. Now we'll go on a cruising trip on the Malacca river.
Di dataran muara Sungai Melaka, di sebelah kanan, para pengunjung boleh melihat sebuah gudang lama yang suatu ketika dahulu ialah tempat simpanan barang-barang yang diniagakan di jeti para bersuara. Dan sekarang bangunan ini telah diubah suai menjadi pusat pelancongan di mana terdapat restoran dan pusat jualan cenderhati. Tetapi reka bentuk bangunan ini masih dikekalkan seperti asal dan dinamakan sebagai kisai.
Next to Bastion Middleburg is an old warehouse that was once used as storehouse for goods traded at the Varosának jetty. It has been restored and retained its original design. Today, it is known as Quasar building and has been converted to a tourist center. You may find several restaurants and souvenir shops around here.
Bersebelahannya pula ialah tapak Bastion Middleburg yang merupakan sebahagian daripada tembok kota Malacca yang dibina pada abad ke-16.
After the dataran Sungai Malacca jetty, on the right is the Bastion Middleburg. It is a part of the wall of Malacca Fort that was built in the 16th century.
Sungai adalah deretan kedai yang diberi nama sebagai kawasan jam besar. Kawasan ini adalah antara kawasan tarikan pelancong, memandangkan di sini juga terletaknya bangunan merah. Para pengunjung boleh melawat hampir ke semua muzium-muzium yang terdapat di Melaka, memandangkan kesemuanya berada di kawasan ini.
On the right of the river, there are short roads known as the Clock Tower area. This is the major tourist attraction as the Dutch House or this building is located. Tourists will be able to visit almost all the museums in Malacca as they are situated within this area.
Selepas kawasan jam besar, terdapat deretan kedai-kedai yang telah diubah suai menjadi kafe, pusat jualan cenderhati serta internet kafe untuk kemudahan para pelancong. Di sebelah kiri sungai terletaknya perkampungan masyarakat Baba dan Nyonya. Kedai-kedai di sini menjual pelbagai barangan cenderhati dan barangan antik.
Right beside Colonial, you will see a row of old buildings that have been converted into cafes, craft and souvenir shop and internet cafe for the benefit of the tourists. To the left of the river is the Baba and Nyonya village. Here you will find many shops selling various souvenirs and fascinating goods.
Di sebelah kanan tuan-tuan dan puan-puan ialah padang miru. Padang miru ialah pembinaannya yang tidak menggunakan paku tetapi pasak dan boleh dialihkan pada bila-bila masa dan lantainya diperbuat daripada batang nibo.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the left you will find an authentic Malaccan traditional house which was built in the 19th. One of the unique features of this house is that it was partially built with wooden packs and no nails were used. Interesting, isn't it?
Tidak berapa jauh dari rumah Limas terletak rumah Villa Sentosa. Rumah ini telah dibina pada awal abad ke-20 dan kini telah dijadikan sebagai muzium persendirian oleh pemiliknya, Datuk Haji Hashim bin Datuk Demang Haji Abdul Qadir. Di sini para pelawat boleh melihat koleksi pakaian, tenunan Melayu, perabot dan pelbagai jenis senjata lama. Masuk adalah percuma.
On your left, you will see a house that was built in the first quarter of the 20th century. This house is now known as Sentosa Villa and has been converted into a living museum by the owner, Datuk Haji Hashim bin Datuk Demang Haji Abdul Qadir. In this villa, visitors will find his private collection of clothing, living, furniture, and weaponry from the tradition of the country.
Kampung ini telah wujud sejak awal tahun 19.
Unfortunately, we will miss the bird's eye view of Malacca, which is from the tower called Menara Tamingsari, opened in 2008. This is the only gyro tower of Malaysia. It's a panoramic tower with a revolving observation tower, but also vertical moving platform. So as you can also see on this image, this viewing platform is going from the bottom to the top of the tower up until 110 meters high. That's why we would have a beautiful view, but this is closed for maintenance now, so we will miss it, unfortunately. That's the problem, but maybe next time. This is the viewing platform, actually a cabin. And the cabin is moving then to the top of this tower, Menara Tamingsari. Well, it doesn't look like that they are working on this maintenance, so I don't think that it will be solved during these 2 days when I'm here. Very probably not. Yeah, it's a pity. I would really enjoy the view, but yeah, it can happen. Looks some kind of transportation museum. So this was the complete travel film about the historic city of Malaysia, Malacca. I hope that you enjoyed it, and with that, so please subscribe to my channel if you didn't do it yet. It's very important to push on the bell icon, because this is how you get notified about the new contents. Have a nice day and goodbye.